times through the 20 years that I've lived in this condo, they start working on runways at the airport. And they normally fly out over the bay, and they land over the bay into the airport. And it's interesting that occasionally then they're working on the airport, and so it gets really noisy. And I even have new windows over here that I got last year, or no, 2 years ago, and they're very high quality windows, and yet I can still hear all of that noise, especially when I'm recording for episodes. Anyway, I hope you find it relaxing. So, moving on to today's episode, we're talking about 2013, how I felt during that year. In the last episode, I mentioned that 2013 was an amazing year in the stock market. And you may recall me also saying that in every episode going forward now, for every year, up until the current year, which is currently 2024, I will be giving you what my portfolio returns each year. And you guys can do the same with your own portfolios. As you start to save and invest, you can look at numbers. This is something I've been doing for multiple years. I call it reverse engineering. And what you do is you take your beginning balance that you have at the beginning of the year. That's why they call it a beginning balance, by the way, right? And you record that number. Then you record the number you have at the end of the year for everything. I also like to include savings in that number because I'm just getting an idea, like, how did my portfolio do? I've got this much money. I put in this much money. And now I have this much money. And the more you put into the investments, the more it goes up, obviously, even if it happens to be a down year. So we'll get to 2018. That was one of the years that I think I shared with you before that we had a down year in the stock market. But my portfolio still ended up because of the amount of money I was putting into those investments throughout that year. And so I like to do that. I like to reverse engineer and record the numbers, because one thing you'll learn about personal finance is that people like to use generalities. You know, they'll say, well, you should get XYZ percentage in the stock market, so, you know, you'll be fine, don't worry about it. But I really wanted to know, for pretty much every single year, what did my numbers reflect? Not just the S&P 500, but if my portfolio happens to be balanced at like 60% stocks, 40% bonds, I wanted to know, how much did my portfolio go up or down during that year? And so, as I shared with you in the last episode, 2012, my portfolio got 12%. And in the next episode, I'll be sharing with you what my portfolio got in 2013. So you'll have to come back for the next episode. But back to the content of today, I wanted to talk about how do we learn to max out our retirement accounts. Because it really was relative to me in 2013. It really was. You guys know I was doing my best every year to save as much as I could. I would optimize the year, and I would say, Evan, when I build the budget in the beginning of the year, I wanted to always know my number one goal. And you guys know I have a lot of number one goals. My number one goal was really to see what kind of a year was it going to be? What were my expenses? What was my income? What was what I like to refer to as other, meaning fun, maintenance type things, saving, and investing. basically, I was learning to max out my retirement accounts, my 401k, and maybe you don't have a 401k, maybe you have a government thrift plan, but whatever you have, you most likely have some type of a retirement account. If not, you can talk to somebody about getting a retirement account for yourself. And it just so happens that I liked the 401k for myself, as well as a Roth IRA. But here's the reality. Even if you decide not to do a Roth IRA, maybe you want to do a traditional IRA. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's bad. You can talk to a financial advisor about that. What I think is more important is that you are doing it. Does that make sense? There's no sense in having a debate about if you should put your money into a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA if you don't take action. Now, if you take action, then we have something to talk about. But sadly, most people don't take that action, right? So consider that. I think it's so much better to put your money into some types of investments, whether it be retirement accounts or not. The fact is, most people don't do it. So it's better to put money into those accounts than not to do it at all. Even if you make what might not be the best decision, the fact that you put the money in is the best decision. And so this topic is relevant for me in 2013 because, I want you guys to know it took me multiple years, which I'll share with you in the next episode, to even max out those two accounts. In and of itself, that was all I had to do. And that may be all that you have to do to optimize the year and your money. But in considering how can we learn to max out our retirement accounts, I guess the first thing I have to say is look at your own current situation right now. Know exactly where your money is going. Did you build your budget? Remember we had an episode about how you can see your vision of your money and spend it on paper first before you spend it. We need to know what's going on with a 12-month period. You got your income. You have expenses. Is there something left over? If not, let's wait till next year, right? But if there's something left over, then we need to know where that money should go. Number one would be, do you have an emergency fund? If not, you may have to fund, F-U-N-D, your emergency fund. Maybe, most people say, 6 to 8 months of living expenses. So once you get that number, the reality is it might take you 2 years to do that. Maybe 3. That's okay. Once you get that fund, an emergency could come along, but then you have to replenish it. So there's going to be some fluidity in the order of things in which you attack this issue of maxing out your retirement accounts. So I did some research for today's episode. And again, we're in 2024. So for those of you watching this in the future, make sure you Google and find out what the maximum dollar amounts that you can contribute to your accounts, meaning your 401k, and let's just say in this example, a Roth IRA. So for 2024, you can put in $23,000 into a 401k. In a Roth IRA, you can put in $7,000. $23,000 plus $7,000. That's $10,000. So it may be that you are first putting in your company match, right? To get the company match, it might be 6% in your 401k. So make sure you do all that research first. Then you reevaluate, is there money left over? Okay, if there is, maybe you go to the Roth IRA and you put money there. Maybe a few years goes by and then you finally max that out. Then you can go back to the 401k and max that out. We've talked about this before, but for those of you that are new, that is how you do that. And the total is, of course, $30,000. That is a lot of money for somebody that is 25 years old, that is 30 years old. It may take you multiple years. Remember, I said it took me 8 years or more to make that happen. And that's it for personal finance, right? What we have to learn to master, and to close out today's episode, is that we have to learn to master our behaviors. There will be shiny things that come along in your lifetime. There will be things that you will want, and there will be things that you need. And it's perfectly fine if you need a larger home for a growing family. That is completely understandable. You just have to work that into your budget. So make sure you understand and you identify and you contemplate what is a want and what is a need. And always have the goal of maxing out your retirement accounts as quickly as you can possibly do so. Many of you may have debt. And if you have debt, then it's like an equation of saying, okay, I have this $10,000 debt over here, but I want to start putting money over here. How do we weigh that out? Those are things that you can either talk to somebody about. Dave Ramsey is a great person that teaches the debt snowball. So my channel is not really designed to go over the basics of things like that in terms of debt reduction, etc. Because there's so much information out there. Just Google it and you will find tons of information. My hope is that you come back to my channel every time I drop an episode for motivation. Motivation to